Hello, scientists, and welcome back. Is it cold at your house? It's really cold where Dr. Gross lives. So I thought we should do some really fun activities. Here in the little part of California where Dr. Gross lives, it doesn't snow in the winter. It rains little. It's cold a little, but it's mostly warm. However, that doesn't mean that Dr. Gross can't make snow. Want to make snow with me? Yeah? Let's make some snow. Okay, see you in a minute. So before we start creating snow, we need to talk a little bit about science. So this here is the periodic table of elements. And it's kind of important for today because we're going to talk about elements.
What are elements?
That's a great question. An element is a substance that cannot be broken down. It's like gold or aluminum. Even if I were to hammer a gold piece and it made smaller pieces, that gold would always be gold. It's not made of any other elements. It's just the element gold. And tinfoil, you know, that stuff that your mom might have at home, or your dad, or your grown-up, or whatever adult buys stuff at your house and cooks, or maybe you do. So, you know, aluminum, even if I were to break it down into smaller pieces, even if I were to try to chemically break it down, it would always be aluminum. So aluminum is an element. Interesting, right? I think so. But wait, all elements are made of atoms, and atoms are the smallest unit of matter. All things, everything is made of atoms. You, me, food, this paper, your pets, everything is made of atoms. But elements are made of atoms, but they're a substance that can't be broken down.
What happens if you combine or put together elements?
Great question. I love questions. So a compound is a substance that is made of many molecules from two or more elements. But a compound is elements that are put together chemically. Did you know that salt, water, and sugar are all compounds? They are different elements that have been put together through a chemical reaction. Water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. That's why we call it H2O. So cool, huh?
Is baking soda an element or a compound? I think it's a compound.
Baking soda is a chemical compound, and this is how we write it. Some elements have been chemically combined, like baking soda, to create a compound. And if I physically mix a bunch of compounds together, what do I create?
Mixture. Let's make a gross and cold mixture.
That's right. A mixture is a physical combination of two or more substances, and we can make a cold mixture. Let's do an experiment. I'm going to go gather all of our materials, and then we'll do some gross, cold science with baking soda.
That's cool science.
So we are going to make cold snow out of baking soda, shaving cream, and food coloring. You don't need food coloring, but it makes it look more gross. And we're going to need a Ziploc bag and a spoon. If you want to follow along and do our experiment with us, I'm going to give you some time. Go gather your materials. Okay, scientists, so I'm back and I've got my materials ready to go. We've talked about elements, we've talked about compounds, and we've talked about mixtures. Now, shaving cream is a mixture, baking soda is a compound, food coloring is also a mixture because I can separate it. It would be tricky, but I could separate it. Now, let's make a mixture. And remember, a mixture is something that I physically put together to create a substance. So I'm gonna get a whole bunch of baking soda. You know that? I'm gonna probably just dump a whole bunch in here. And then I'm gonna take some shaving cream. I'm gonna give it a good shake. I'm gonna squeeze it in there. And then I'm going to put a couple drops of my So green shaving cream coloring. Okay, and I'm gonna seal it up. And now I'm gonna spend some time squishing and physically mixing my compound together, along with my mixture, my sodium bicarbonate compound, and my shaving cream mixture. Now, it doesn't feel very snowy to me. It just looks like a blobby mess. So I think, based on what it feels like, it still feels mushy like shaving cream. I think I need a little bit more sodium bicarbonate. So let's shake a little bit in. And there aren't any exact measurements for this science experiment. You just have to keep adding until it feels like crunchy snow. And you know what's really neat? As we create this mixture of sodium bicarbonate and shaving cream, do you know what happens if I let it sit? In about 15 minutes, my mixture will start to feel like cold snow. It's really neat. A chemical reaction happens where the sodium bicarbonate reacts with the shaving cream and it gets cold. All right, let's take a look inside. Oh, it's almost there. Can you see it? It's this unusual texture. It's almost like wet sand. It's almost there. I'm going to give it a little bit more sodium bicarbonate, just a little. Shake it in there. I'm going to keep mixing, physically manipulating my mixture. Oh, it feels ready. It kind of feels like wet sand or mushy snow. Now, how can I test that it's complete? Well, if I take it and I mush it in my hand, it should form kind of a snowball and stay. I have created a new mixture. I've created green snow. That's really cool. Now, it's not very gross. Do you think we should do something gross with it? I think so. All right, give me a minute. I'll be right back and we'll do something gross with our green snow. While you're waiting for me, make yourself a little snowman or snowball.
Oh, that's cold.
All right, so class, we made a mixture of sodium bicarbonate and shaving cream. Now, let's do something gross with it. I have a little cup of vinegar here. I should probably be doing this in the sink so that my grown-up doesn't get mad, but I'm gonna be really careful. So ready? I'm gonna take my mixture and I'm gonna put on some of my vinegar. Whoa, what's happening? That's gross! The vinegar and the sodium bicarbonate are reacting. We're creating another chemical reaction. That's amazing! So cool! Yeah! That's so gross!
Gross.
You guys, we just made a mixture. Now, do you think we could make a compound? I think we can make a compound. Should we make a compound that we can play with also? Yeah, let's do that.
That's cool science.
All right, for this experiment, we are going to need 1/2 cup of cornstarch, 1 cup of baking soda, 3/4 cups of water, food coloring, a saucepan, and a wooden spoon. You're also going to need a grown-up to supervise because we've got to use the stove because a compound is a chemical reaction that happens. And we're going to use the heat from the stove to create a chemical reaction, which will create a compound. It's time to create our compound. We are going to carefully put all of our ingredients into our saucepan, and on low heat, we are going to mix and mix and mix until all of our substances are combined chemically through heat into a compound. Ready? Let's go. Let's do some science and make some snow. Well, it's not really snow, but it looks like it. So now we have a goopy substance, and I had to add a little extra cornstarch and a little extra baking soda because it wasn't thickening up. But I'm going to keep mixing it for a few more minutes and let it keep thickening up as the water evaporates out of my compound so that I can make some dough, some snow dough. Scientists, do you see the bubbles in our dough? It's almost ready to form a ball. So I have turned off my heat and I'm just going to keep mixing and mixing. Do you see it's forming into a ball? It's so close to snow dough. It's so exciting. Look at that. It's forming into a ball. I mixed it for like 5 minutes. My arms are exhausted from all the mixing. But guys, I made snow dough with your help. Do you see that? All right, so do you know what I have to do now? I have to let it sit for a few minutes because it's way too hot for me to take it out of the saucepan. So I'm going to let it sit there for a couple minutes. Maybe I'm going to put it out on my counter, and then we're going to see how cool our snow dough is. All right, see you in a second.
Wow.
So scientists, we created a compound. My dough has cooled off, and if it's too sandy feeling, it's too dry, you can spray a little bit of water on it. Now you're going to take it and you are going to mold your compound into dough. And it takes a lot of muscle power, but you're going to mush it and squeeze it and combine it until you have snow dough that you can play with. Now, if it's a little dry, you can always add some water to it, but it's really soft and it's really fun to play with, and you can form it into snowballs, or you can make some stuff out of it. And if it gets dry, just spray a little bit of water as the water evaporates, and you can recreate your snow dough. So how cool is that today, scientists? We learned about elements, we learned about substances and mixtures and compounds. Look at how fun that is. And we did some cool and gross science today. So neat. Now, guess what? Should we pour some vinegar on it just to see what happens again? Let's see. Why did it do that, scientists? We created another chemical reaction. And why? Because we have sodium bicarbonate, and that reacts with vinegar. That's so neat. It's so gross. Scientists, grossologists, we had an awesome time today. We had a super scientific day making some fake snow. So I hope you try some more experiments. And if you ever have any questions, just let me know. I love questions. Have a gross day, friends. Bye.
Stay gross. Bye.